Hello everybody, welcome to a new video of Baldur's Gate 3. In this episode, I'm gonna share one of my multi-class builds for Abjuration Wizard, and we are gonna multi-class it with Paladin and Fighter. If you have watched my Abjuration Wizard video, I'm sure you already know how good it is as a tank and a protector. It has the ability Arcane Ward to significantly reduce incoming damage. It has the ability Projected Ward to lend its tankiness to others. And the Wizard class alone is already fantastic at utility and battlefield control. But Abjuration Wizard is really bad at dealing damage, so here, by multi-classing into Paladin and Fighter, we can sacrifice a little extra tankiness to make it better at dealing damage. This build I made is an Abjuration Knight kind of setting that fights on the front line, dealing nice weapon damage while protecting the whole team with its Abjuration abilities and spells. It has 10 levels of Abjuration Wizard, 1 level of Vengeance Paladin, and 1 level of Fighter. The Paladin class gives us proficiency in heavy armor, making the Abjuration Wizard even tankier. It also grants proficiency in all kinds of weapons. I choose to dual-wield short swords for this build, which deal piercing damage. You can also choose scimitars, which deal slashing damage. These two are light weapons that you can dual-wield without getting extra skills. There is a third option, which is daggers. They have nice effects, but their damage is low. As for the Paladin subclass, I choose Oath of Vengeance, because it has the ability Inquisitor's Might to give you great damage and some control in the early game. It's a bonus action that gives your weapon additional radiance damage equal to your Charisma modifier and can daze the target for 1 turn. Dazed unit has disadvantage on Wisdom saving throws, cannot take reactions, and loses the Dexterity bonus to their AC. Inquisitor's Might lasts for 2 turns and uses 1 charge of Paladin's Channel Oath ability. We only have 1 charge of that in this build, but the Channel Oath recharges every short rest, and we usually short rest after every battle, so basically we can use Inquisitor's Might once in every battle. It is not much in the late game, but really nice in the early game. Besides, Paladin also gets the ability Divine Sense at level 1, which is a bonus action that grants you advantage on attacks against the Celestial, Fiends, and Undead for 2 turns. This ability can be used every short rest. The Fighter class allows us to choose 2-weapon fighting as our fighting style. This allows us to add our fighting ability modifier to the damage we made with our offhand weapon. Normally, you only add it to your main hand weapon. Some of you may be wondering that Paladin class can choose fighting style at level 2, why would I need the Fighter class? The reason is, Paladin cannot choose 2-weapon fighting. 2-weapon fighting is the best fighting style when it comes to dealing more weapon damage, because you can attack 1 more time each turn. In D&D 5e, more dice is always better than a single big die, because you dilute the chance of missing the attack, and you trigger effects multiple times. Speaking of this build works nicely with weapon coatings. You can use toxin coatings to deal extra poison damage, or double the chance to control enemies with poison coatings. Besides all this, at level 3 of the Wizard class, we can learn the spell Magic Weapon. This will be the core spell we rely on. It gives your main hand weapon a bonus to attack rolls and damage. If you cast it with a level 2 or level 3 spell slot, the bonus is +1. If it's a level 4 or level 5 slot, the bonus is +2. If it's a level 6, the bonus is +3. This spell also makes your main hand weapon magical, which means it ignores enemies' resistance to its damage type. The effect of Magic Weapon lasts a whole day as long as you still maintain concentration on it. And because this build is really good at preventing damage, you seldom lose the concentration. Okay, now let's talk about the leveling strategy, when to level into each class, and what you can do in different stages of the game. I start this build with the Paladin class, and when originally allocating ability scores, we give the major bonus to Strength, and bring it all the way up to 17, which is the highest possible for now. We'll eventually get it to 20. This is to maximize our attack rolls and weapon damage. And it also allows us to carry a heavier load, which is important for a build wearing heavy armor. Then we give the minor bonus to Charisma and bring it up to 16. This will give us a +3 Charisma modifier which means a +3 radiance damage from Inquisitor's Mind for each weapon. Charisma also makes us good in conversations. Then we forgo 2 Constitution to bring Wisdom to 13, we'll make it 14 later in the game. Wisdom makes you better at sensing danger and noticing hidden things, which is valuable when exploring, and it also makes you hard to control by the most powerful control spells in the game. And because we are a paladin, we have a proficiency bonus for Wisdom saving throws, which is +2 for now and will eventually become +4 at level 9. So our effective Wisdom is even higher than 14 when making saving throws. We don't need Constitution to be tanky, because we can dodge nearly all of the attacks. And our protecting ability from the Abjuration Wizard class is gonna significantly reduce the damage we seldom take. We leave Dexterity unchanged at 10 to get as much initiative roll as possible. We are not gonna get any bonus to our AC from Dexterity, because heavy armor forbids that, so it's not very beneficial to raise your Dexterity above 10. We also leave Intelligence unchanged at 10, so it doesn't limit the number of wizard spells we can prepare. At level 1, Paladin also gets 3 Lay on Hands charges each day. This action can cure a team member of any disease. You can also use it to heal hit points, but that ability scales with Paladin levels, so we won't use it in this build. At level 2, we get 1 level of Wizard for the Shield spell to increase our AC as soon as possible. For the starting spells, first we get Shield, of course. It's a reaction that gives you another 5 AC when you need it, making you harder to be hit. Remember to untoggle your opportunity attack, in case you waste your reactions on that and can't cast your protection reactions. Then find Familiar. This allows you to summon a creature into your party to help with combat and exploring. Once summoned, they'll be there until their hit points get reduced to 0. It's a ritual spell, which means if you cast it outside of combat, it doesn't consume your spell slot. And summon spells don't need to stay prepared once the creature is summoned. For the other 4 vacancies, we choose 4 utility spells: Enhance Leap, Feather Fall, Disguise Self, and Thunder Wave. Enhance Leap and Feather Fall combined give your party more freedom when exploring the map. They are ritual spells too, and they are usually always used outside of combat, so they are almost always free. Disguise Self allows you to assume a false identity. This is useful in places where a certain race has benefits. Thunder Wave can be used to move some heavy objects outside of combat. Okay, now you've learned 6 spells from the Wizard class, but at this point, you can only prepare 1 spell. And what I do with this is, I don't prepare pure utility spells like Enhance Leap, and when I need to use spells like this, I take off some spells that are only used in combat, then prepare these ones, then do the jobs, then prepare those combat spells back. For the starting cantrips, we choose 3 utility cantrips to make us useful outside of combat. Mage Hand, to manipulate things from a distance. Light, to illuminate things and see the surroundings more clearly. For this build, I recommend you cast it on your own weapon, because you always run to the front line to engage the enemies. This way, you can always illuminate the enemies and make it easier for your teammates to land their attacks. This effect lasts a whole day, so you only need to cast it when the day starts. Then, Friends, to make better use of our nice charisma. This gives you advantage in conversations, making you more likely to influence people. At level 3, we level into the Fighter class and choose 2-weapon fighting as our fighting style. Now we can add our strength modifier to the damage we made with our offhand weapon. It is +3 for now and will eventually become +5. The Fighter class also gives you a healing ability called Second Wind. It's a bonus action that heals you for a 1d10 plus your fighter level, which is nice in the early game. You can cast it every short rest. Starting from level 4, we stay in the Wizard class. At level 4, we choose into the Abjuration School and get the ability Arcane Ward. It reduces incoming damage by an amount that equals the ward's intensity. At the start of each day, you get an intensity that equals your Wizard level. It can be charged to twice your Wizard level. And every time you cast an Abjuration spell, the ward's intensity charges by the amount of the spell's level. At this point, we already have the Shield spell, which is a level 1 Abjuration spell that keeps recharging our Arcane Ward. Anytime you take damage, Arcane Ward prevents an amount that equals its intensity, and then its intensity lowers by 1 after. And in the late game, you constantly have a ward intensity around 18. It's not rare to see an enemy finally hit you with a critical hit, but deal 0 damage. At this level, we can also learn 2 spells and prepare 1 more. I recommend learning Long Strider, which I think is a must-have for any party. It increases the target's moving distance for the whole day without concentration, as long as the spell is still prepared, and it's a ritual spell. So every morning you can cast it on yourself, on your whole party, and on all the creatures you summoned. At level 5, we get to learn and prepare our core spell, Magic Weapon. Now, our main hand weapon has a bonus on attack rolls and damage and becomes magical. I also recommend learning Knock. This spell can unlock any lock, no matter its difficulty class, unless the story forbids it. At level 6, we get to choose our first feat. Here we choose Ability Improvement to bring our Strength to 18 and our Wisdom to 14, giving them both another +1 modifier. At this level, we can also learn and prepare the spell See Invisibility. This is one of the best abilities of a wizard. It lasts a whole day and doesn't need concentration, but you do need to keep it prepared. At level 7, we can learn a powerful spell that every mage should learn, Counter Spell. This allows you to completely negate an enemy spell as a reaction. Counter Spell can negate any spell whose level is not higher than the spell slot you spent. If the spell's level is higher, you still get a chance to negate it, but you need to make an ability check. As a level 3 Abjuration spell, it charges your Arcane Ward by at least 3. At level 8, you get your second special ability from the Abjuration School, Projected Ward. With this, you can use your ward to protect one ally each turn as a reaction. At this level, you can also learn the spell Remove Curse to better protect your allies. This is another level 3 Abjuration spell, so it charges your Arcane Ward by at least 3. At level 9, you can learn the spell Conjure Minor Elemental to summon another unit for your party, which is recommended for any mage build. And because the summon spell doesn't need to stay prepared, now we have one more prepare slot to use. We can learn and prepare Misty Step. It is useful both inside and outside of combat by teleporting for quite a distance. At level 10, we can choose our second feat. Here we choose Ability Improvement to increase our strength to 20, the cap, maximizing our attacks. At this level, we finally have the luxury to learn and prepare another level 1 protection spell, Force Life. This spell gives you some temporary hit points. This effect lasts a whole day as long as you don't take damage and lose the hit points. So you only need to cast it at the beginning of the day. Combined with your own protection abilities, most of the time, enemies can't even touch your real hit points. At level 11, we can learn the spell Conjure Elemental to summon the strongest unit we can summon for our party. Finally, at level 12, we get our final special ability from the Abjuration School, Improved Abjuration. Now, every time you short rest, your ward's intensity charges by an amount equal to your wizard level. At this point, you will be almost unkillable. Okay, we have talked about how good this build is. Now let's talk about its weaknesses. The most obvious weakness of this build is that you are very slow. You only have 10 dexterity. Usually, most enemies will act before you, so you can't push the front line into the enemies when the battle starts, like what we did with the pure Abjuration Wizard build. Another thing is, you are always focusing on magic weapon and can't focus on anything else. This limits your utility outside of combat, but not very much. The last weakness is your casting ability. We get spells from the wizard class, which uses intelligence to cast the spells, but we have a low intelligence, so it's not a good idea for you to use counter spell against the spells with a higher level than the slot you use. But fortunately, this is the only spell we use that requires an ability check. And that is everything about this Abjuration Knight build. Hope you like it, and if you like this video, please click the like button and subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.